Okay, guys. Good morning, Susan. Good morning, Miss Susan. So I'm really, really excited this morning because we're going to count some stuff joy. And it's so funny because Friday was so amazing. You guys, Fruitful Friday, it felt so good. I was living on that. I was eating off of that. I was embracing all of that the entire time. Like all weekend, I just kept reminding myself that everything that I needed, everything that I was going to do, everything that I did was fruitful. It was fertile. It produced something. And I just really starting to appreciate that, really starting to walk in the fruitfulness of the empowerment, to walk in those things. A lot of times we don't take the time to really count the growth. We don't take the time to really embrace the new. We don't take the time to really just kind of say, wait a minute, I'm not where I was. A lot of times we so focus on the negative, on the dysfunction, that we don't take time to really count it all joy. Everything that is everything that is everything. And so this morning, we still we're still excited about that Fruitful Friday and what it means to have the abundance and understanding what all that means, understanding how to operate in that, understanding how to flow in the fruitfulness and the fertileness, understanding how to produce a thing. Just so much. Again, if you're just joining us, come on Latisha Anderson's page, because if you're on any of my business pages, I'm really not gonna be able to see you. I'm gonna just be honest. Okay. So I'm just really excited. Like, I hope you guys are taking all of these things in. I am working on some major things I want you guys to be working on as well, because we are fertile people, because we are productive, because we reproduce. What you have to understand is at some point, like all this stuff that we get, if you don't give it out, if you don't pass it on, what happens is you just become full and stuck. And so we're going to learn today how to count it all joy. Because good morning, Annette, good morning. So we're just going to really start moving because we're about to do what? Count it all joy. You guys know how I am. Before I start telling you these things, I want you to understand what these words mean. Because when you understand the root or the source of something, it gives you a better of an understanding of what it is that you need to do. It gives you a better understanding of where we need to go from here, right? Because joy can just be deeper than you being happy. Counting is more than you just doing this. There is a reason you have to count it all joy, right? I'm gonna tell y'all something so funny, right? So yesterday I was like, so what am I gonna talk about? And like I tell you guys, I take this stuff seriously. I meditate about it, I pray about it. What we talking about? And all I honestly got was joy. That was it. I didn't get nothing else. So I put up the definition of joy. I put it in my phone. I started to research what it meant and was still just kind of trying to dwell on it. Good morning, Don. How we going to go from here? Then this morning, because every morning I do my morning meditation, my morning prayer, and I read my word. And my verse for today was count it all joy. And I started laughing because I was like, I'm glad I already had joy. So I know that's why I'm in the right. But it was that whole count it all part that stood out. It wasn't necessarily the joy aspect of it. It was count it all. And so we're going to start with the first word, count. Right? This is going to be so good. Because remember, we were productive. We had a fruitful Friday. We realized that we are fertile. We realized we have the ability to walk in abundance. We realized that there's an overflow. But in the midst of that overflow, okay, wait a minute. I'm going to get done. I get so excited. So let's start with count, right? What does count mean? To determine the total number of a collection of items, right? To take in account or to include. Seems simple. Let's stick with that. That seems real simple. So we're going to take a total number. We're going to collect it all together and see where we go from here, right? An act of determining the total number of something. An act of reciting numbers in ascending order up to the specified number. So now we got to count them in ascending order. We're going to start from 0 and work our way up. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. We're counting it all joy, right? So that means at some point, wait, we ain't got that yet. Hold on. Now, also all used to refer to the whole quantity or extent of a particular group. Used for emphasis. So we're going to take all And I want y'all to let that sit there. If you get a chance, type all, because I need you to understand what this is going to mean. Type all, all, all. Just type it. Write it, say it in your mind, out, all. Because see, we want to focus on the joy, but we missing out two of these words. Count it all. All of it. You ready? All right, I'm getting so excited. The whole of one's energy or interest, right? Now, with that being said, that means if we're going to count it all joy, that has to be everything. And we got to count it in ascending order. That means I'm not skipping nothing. That means even that ugly stuff, I got to count that joy. That dysfunction, I got to count that joy. Wait a minute. Yeah. Because in order for me to ascend a thing, that means there's growth. I'm not descending, I'm ascending. There's an order to it. Because as you begin to grow, there's like this one Bible scripture that I really do like when it says to make your enemies your footstool. And people always want the enemy to be a person. They always want the enemy to be somebody because they want to be able to acknowledge it. But what I have always told people is that the enemy is whatever it manifests in you. And when you understand the ascending part of counting it all joy, when you make something your footstool, when you make the dysfunction your footstool, when you make the fear your footstool, that's you going up the steps. That means once it's under my feet, it no longer controls me. But I needed the dysfunction at some point to utilize it to see what it was trying to keep me from seeing. See, when we began to realize that we were fruitful, that we had the ability to multiply, that we were fertile, you have to realize that the fear, that the dysfunction was the mountain we kept speaking about. Remember, everybody wants you to climb a mountain. I'm not climbing nothing. I'm going to speak to the mountain and it's going to move. And that means even if I have to move. But what am I going to count all joy about? Because I'm ascending. What are the four pillars? Acknowledge, accept, embrace, and evolve. Evolvement is forward movement. So for me to count it all joy, I'm going to ascend from it. That means I'm rising above whatever it is that's been holding me down. I'm rising above whatever it is that's been keeping me. And the thing about dysfunction is it never wants you to see the proper view. It doesn't want you to count that ugly part of your life. Because for most of us, that is our strength. See, a lot of times I used to do like all these empowerment conferences and things that people want to go to and they want to talk about it. And this lady was like, what would you, how did she say? She said, what would you tell your 11-year-old self or your 10-year-old self? Pretty much, what would you say to yourself where the trauma took place? Because you know, you feel like you let that person down, the former you, right? But when you learn how to count it all joy, I don't owe the 11-year-old me an apology. I don't owe the 10-year-old me an apology. I don't owe the 3-year-old me an apology. I don't owe that one apology. You know why? Because if I counted it all joy, that means even in that dysfunction, that 3-year-old me was strong enough to make it to the 42-year-old me I am today. I don't owe my past no apologies because I understood something. A long time ago, I did like a little workshop called Her Story, My Strength. My Strength, Her Story. See, when you learn to appreciate the all, the ugly, even the dysfunction, when you no longer allow that thing to control your life, now you have the ability to count it all joy. See, so I don't regret. Did it hurt? Yeah. Was it awkward? Yes. But I don't regret it. See, I couldn't change the fact because when you learn that I can't change nothing, I'm not going back in my past to apologize for nothing. Listen, do I want to have been molested? No, that's not what I'm telling you. Did I want to grow up in an abusive household? No, that's not what I'm telling you. But what I am telling you is that I'm counting it all joy. Why? Because I get to do this. Because I get to empower other people. Because when you realize that dysfunction That stuff that was trying to imprison you, that was trying to keep you bound. When you understand something like, okay, because y'all all know I grew up in the church, right? So they tell us you are overcome by the words of your testimony. That means that thing, in order for me to overcome a thing, it's no longer in front of me. That's how I can count that. That's how I can count that in ascending order. How? Because when I learn to tell that as my strength and not my downfall, when I learn to tell that as my stepping stone and not my stumbling block, now I have the ability to ascend it because I've overcame it, because I conquered it, when it no longer controls you. And sometimes you still feel confined by it. Because it's not a joyful thing to tell somebody that I was molested. It's not a joyful thing to tell somebody I grew up in an abusive household. That's not the joy. The joy is that I made it. The joy is that I survived. The joy is that I am victorious. And the joy is that I was able to stand on it, compact it, and utilize it as a catapult to empower not just me, but other people. When you count it all joy, you learn that that's the involvement. Remember, we've been focusing on the 4 pillars. We've been focusing on how are we going to just utilize all of this. We're going to focus on the all. I can't take it back, so I'm not going back there to get it. I can't change it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to count it all joy. Why? Because it didn't kill me. I don't care if you're 65, if you're 72, if you're 106. If you wake up and realize the dysfunction, count that joy. Because now you've elevated yourself. You're no longer allowing that thing to just sit on you like this. When you're not able to count it, that means you're hiding it. And what happens is you don't even realize because it's hidden. It's controlling you. That's your puppet master. It have you act in a certain way, talk in a certain way, walk in a certain way, because you don't want to count that. It didn't kill me. Others committed suicide going through some of the things I went through. That was not my story. So I counted all joy. I should be taking some type of antidepressant, some type of bipolar medication, something. Because when I say the trauma, the dysfunction created such delusions. But I'm able to count that ugly. I'm able to count that thing that makes me unique. Am I the only person that was ever violated? No, but I'm still unique. It's unique to me. It's authentic to me. And I can't change it. It's a part of my fabric. So if I can't change my fabric because it's embedded in there, you see all these colors? You see all this? So some of the good, the bad, and the ugly, when you have to count it, all of it, you don't get to decide which one you don't want to count. Because the ugly is still in my evolvement. The ugly is still in my stepping stone. The ugly is still in my overcoming. See, we only want to talk about the things that make us feel good. But I take joy in knowing that that thing that held me no longer gives me power, and I no longer give it power. See, remember, dysfunction wants you to have power and not be empowered. When you understand how to count it all joy, every bit of it, the ugly parts, the stuff you don't want nobody to talk about, that's how you become even the more empowered, because now you become self-aware. Remember, self-reflection gives you pain and power. And power is what? Control over other people or events. But self-awareness empowers you. It allows you to become stronger and more confident, gaining control over your life and your rights. And I can't do that if I can't count it all joy. No, I'm not happy to tell somebody that my daddy was abusive to my mama. That don't make me happy. That's not the joy. The joy is in that both me and my mama survived. The joy is in that she came out. The joy is in that she didn't take her life. The joy is in that she didn't just get rid of me and send me off to somebody else. The joy is that she didn't allow me to repeat the same cycle. See, you got to stop looking at the ugly sometimes in an ugly eye and go beyond what you see. The joy is not always in what we wanted to look good. The joy is not always in what tastes good. The joy is not always in what feels good, but you overcame it. See, my grandma used to make this medicine for us every year. That stuff was nasty. You hear me? It was straight nasty. Nasty. You hear me? And nobody wanted to take it. And she made us take it every year, a couple of times, especially in the wintertime. And if I think about it, my grandma used to always make me take this nasty stuff. But let me tell you why we gonna count that nasty medication, joy. Because remember, joy, it don't always feel good. It don't always look good. It don't always taste good. Because when everybody else was getting sick, we wasn't. In that brief moment, it felt like forever. It felt like eternity. It took us for so long to drink it. And was like, why we gotta keep taking this nasty stuff? But it kept us. As Festus taught us, it preserved us. So now as you continue to understand what it is that I'm counting it all, joy, Tisha, every bit of it. Because in that is your strength. See, I can't take back what the pedophile did to me. Ain't nothing I could do about that. That is done. As a matter of fact, one of them already dead, and the other one, I don't know where he at. Like, I just don't know, right? But if I don't count that in my count, in my evolvement, that means I have not evolved from that moment. If I don't count the fact that I know my daddy beat my mama, this ain't nothing nobody had to tell me, then I haven't evolved from that. That means I haven't ascended from that. That means that thing is still holding me stuck. That means that even in other areas, if I'm ascending, if you don't put it in the all, that's how you operate in dysfunction. Because you keep trying to hide your truth. What did I tell y'all? We have to accept the truth as the gift it is. And you're not accepting your gift. Because in your truth, and you accepting your truth, that is your freedom. But I can't count it all joy because I don't want to remember it. Well, baby, you remember it. Even if you don't, your actions remember because it's controlling you. Even if you try to hide and act like, oh, it don't bother me no more, you're lying. It seeks out. Dysfunction don't care. Remember, that thing will incubate. And so every time you think you over it because you don't want to count it, because you don't want to talk about it, because you don't want to tell nobody, you allow dysfunction to hover. And you think that virus is gone somewhere. No, that thing ain't with nowhere. It's not. It's still in there. You just become numb to the symptoms. So when you count it all joy, that means I don't get to pick and choose. I did not stand in line and say, I want to be the one who was molested. I didn't get to pick that. Remember, in life, you can live life as a situation or you can live life as a journey. So I found myself in a situation. I didn't pick that. That wasn't my choice. So when I was a child, I thought as a child. So my behaviors were controlled by that situation. But when I became an adult, I refused to allow that thing. Once I became in the knowledge of the truth, that I'm not going to let this thing keep finding me. I'm not going to allow life to be a situation where I keep finding myself in something, circumstance after circumstance. But I'm going to live my life as a journey. That's me going from one place to the next. That's me taking control over the choices I make. See, I can't help what happened. Like I said, you could do all the preparation you want to do. You still don't know if your tire going to blow when you drive. All you can do is be the best prepared you can be. That's it. There ain't nothing else you can do. So then I started thinking about all in all. Right? Oh, I ain't even got the joy yet. I'm so excited, y'all. So then I got to all in all. Right? Considering everything that has happened. In summary, and in spite of any unpleasantness. So you got to count it all in all. See, I need it in its entirety. See, you keep wanting to tell your story. You keep wanting to say you overcame. You keep wanting to say this your testimony, but you ain't took the all in the all. You're not counting it all joy. I didn't say it felt good, and I didn't say it was right, and I didn't say it looked good, neither did I say it tastes good. But if you made it, then you survived. So let's not just talk about that victorious moment. Sometimes you got to talk about those moments when you were not feeling victorious. See, my 3-year-old me and my 5-year-old me and my 10-year-old me. See, when people, cause I'm telling y'all, I go to these empowerment events and stuff when we was able to go out and about, you remember, just last year? And they always want to get you in an emotional state. I'm going to teach you something. They always want you to go back and start crying about some stuff that you had no control over. Let me tell you the dangerous part about that. That's one of the things that I learned about like going to church and prophets at revival meetings. I'm going to tell y'all something. Y'all not going to like this. I don't care. If you go to a church service, watch them prophets and them evangelists and whoever else out there in them streets that always leave you open after they give you something, right? So if you call me up to the altar and you be like, oh my God, God just showed me you've been through some stuff. Oh my God, it's going to be a great testimony. But you ain't told me nothing else. Now I'm on the floor and I'm crying. You left me open. So what starts to happen is now I'm reliving all this crazy stuff. And you ain't showed me how to close it. And I ain't learned how to count it all joy. So why did you open me up in the first place? So I said that part, remember that, to say this part. So then I went to a empowerment type thing. And I watched this lady open up all these people emotions. She had them put pictures up when they was younger. She had a whole collage. And after a while, everybody started crying. They started feeling some type of way. And she said, write down what you would have tell the 10-year-old you or the 5-year-old you. Basically, write down where the trauma started. And apologize. If I was 3, what I'm apologizing for? If I was 5, what I'm apologizing for? If I was 6, what I'm apologizing for? If I was still in the dysfunction at 21 and I still ain't know no difference, what am I apologizing for? That's dysfunction. I don't care where the trauma took place. You gotta, the power is in forgiveness. It's in you forgiving yourself. I couldn't change that situation. But I'm gonna count it all joy. I'm gonna count that one because that helped me get here. And then something might else happen at 5, but I'm gonna still count that one because it helped me get here. See, some of that stuff, that ugly stuff, that gave you a survivor's mode, that gave you the ability to fight, that built something in you, that built your immune system. But because you were not properly taught on how to navigate it, dysfunction came in and said, nope, I'm going to imprison you and keep you in a confined space because I don't want you to count it all joy in spite of the unpleasantness. Also, all in all. Overall, mostly, this phrase is typically used when one is considering all aspects of something together. See, when y'all tell the truth, when they be like, count it all joy, you don't want to count the ugly stuff. You don't want to count that. You're not even counting. When people say joy, all you thinking about is the good stuff, the stuff that made you happy, the stuff in that moment now. Oh, this is joy. I feel joy because you got that position. You got that job because you overcame. But I'm telling you, when you count it all joy, that means the foolery that came along with it. When you count it all joy, that means the injuries that came along with it. When you count it all joy, that means the hurt that came along with it. When you count it all joy, see, that helps boost your immune system against the infectious disease of dysfunction, that virus. When you count it all joy, it empowers you that you no longer allow it to have power over you. When you count it all joy, that's everything in spite of the good, the bad, the ugly. They all come together. When you count it all joy, how in the world am I going to count being violated joy? Because I was able to ascend from it. I was able to evolve from it. I was able to move forward from it. That's how I can count it all joy. I ascended from that. I am no longer a victim. I am victorious because I ascended from that. I count it all joy, every bit of it. Wow, listen to me. That's how I have the ability not to cry when I talk to people. Good morning, Teresa. Not to cry about what I've been through. Why? Because it was, I can't change it. It's in my fabric. We are connected to that thing. So either it's going to control me or I'm going to control it. Either I'm going to overcome it or it's going to overtake me. And many of us walk in the dysfunction of that nonsense, those things, those hurt, those injuries, that illness overtaking us. Remember, we just learned that we put on habits, and habits are clothing. because we're hiding the truth. We're hiding because we don't want to put that ugly thing in the count. But that ugly thing is what made you. Some of y'all lives started out kind of harsh, but it taught you some stuff. It built some things in you. No, I don't want to give credit to the child molester, and I'm not. But it left me with something. It didn't just leave me with a scar. It left me with a gift. Because if I can't do nothing else, I can spot a pedophile. We could be in a crowded room. And I promise you, I can walk up on one and touch him on the head. Would I have preferred not to have been violated? Most definitely I would have. But then being able to go into different shelters and group homes and talk to different women and children that have been battered, that have been abused. And I have the ability and I've been equipped to empower them. See, because the thing about it is, everybody can't be equipped in the same thing the same way. Some of y'all trying to pour into people that you're not equipped to do. That's why you're tired. And because you don't want to be honest. That's why I tell you, dysfunctional people can't teach you nothing but how to be dysfunctional. That's why people who feel like they're leaders, and this is what I was called to do, but everybody only get to go so far with you because you only go so far with yourself because you still dysfunctional and you teaching them how to be dysfunctional. That's why nothing really succeeds. That's why there's no real productivity. That's why there's no real fertilization. That's why there's no real reproducing of anything, because it's dysfunctional. So my injury, my scars, my violation equipped me to go places I didn't have to go. Meaning I never had to be in an abusive shelter. I never had to go to all these different group homes. I was never locked up. Because of my violation, I didn't walk that path. But I'm an example to somebody else that, baby, if I made it and I know your scars and I know your injuries, then you can make it. Why? Because I've learned to count it all joy. All of it. You keep trying to hide it. You keep trying to skip over it. You keep trying not to say nothing. You keep trying to just keep that thing confined. Count it. It's a part of you. You can't, I don't care. Let me tell y'all something. I got a cousin named Mary, and she's born developmentally delayed. Most back in the day, we used to call her retarded, right? So she went through some stuff in her life, right? And my auntie got 3 kids. Actually, my auntie had 4. Her first child passed away. So there's 3 of them. In spite of the obstacles that my cousin went through in her life, my auntie don't just count 2 of her kids. She count all of her children. See, that's what you got to understand. Despite the difficulty, despite the handicap, despite the dysfunction, you still have to count it all. You don't divide that thing, because if you're not being wholeheartedly truthful, you will never be in power. You will never have the power. You have to count it all. You cannot miss something because you cannot sin that way. Yeah, I know they told us how to count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. But you still got to add that extra 1 we're not counting. So even if you say 2, 4, you still had to start with 1. It's still in the count. 3, 6, 9. I bet you 1 and 2 still in that 3. 4 and 5 still in that 6. You still got to count it. What y'all trying to do is skip it and act like it didn't happen. No, count it all joy. All in all is everything, including the unpleasantness. It is everything, including the hurt. It is everything, including the pain. It's everything. And when you count it, it empowers you. That's how you get authentic joy, because you realize I made it. You realize it didn't kill you. You realize, you know what? It don't hurt no more. You realize that you could tell somebody else and help pull them out. You realize you could tell somebody else and help push them out. You realize you could tell somebody else and it empowers them. You realize you could tell somebody else and it gives them the key to their freedom, because you're free. But if you keep hiding it and you don't want to count it all, I don't want to talk about that. Yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Because you don't want to name it. You don't want to be specific about it. You got to be specific about it. You have to, you cannot just sit in it and not be specific. Remember, we learned our SMART goals. You have to be specific to count it all joy. It has to be measurable to count it all joy. It is obtainable if you count it all joy. It's realistic when you count it all joy. It's timely when you count it all joy. See, I got to be smart about this. I got to count it all joy. Because some of y'all don't want to count it because it didn't feel good. Count that. You only want to talk about it when somebody bring it up. I have scars on me, right? They don't hurt no more, but they still there. I count them. And one of the scars is about this big. It's really little. It's on my knee. When I got the scar, it was this big. I skinned my knee on that in the street, in the road, learning how to ride a bicycle. And I skinned it to the white meat. Ooh. And my grandma had put some peroxide, but I think it was alcohol because that stuff burnt the daylights out of me. I remember crying. I remember that, right? But I counted all joy. You know what it taught me? Something I was trying to do. I think I was trying to ride on the curve, like the little hump curve, and that's how I failed. So it taught me, Tisha, maybe that ain't what you want to do. So I'm going to count it all joy. See, I can't get past that part. Some of y'all try to skip these injuries and these illnesses. You can't do that because you keep them hiding. And when you hide them, they just incubate and they wait for the next moment to come up, come out, and show out. And we can't have that because we're going to count it all joy. Can y'all say that one more time? Can y'all just type that for me one more time? Count it all joy. And put all in capital letters. Count it all joy. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. Count it all joy. Because that's how you get true empowerment. That's how you get true growth. That's how you evolve. That's how you ascend. Because you count it all joy. Because see, if you keep trying to skip these steps, dysfunction gonna bring your little tail right on down. And you're gonna feel every last one of them steps, including the ones you skipped. Because you gave it power when you hit it. You gave it power when you didn't want to acknowledge it. You gave it power when you didn't want to put it in the count. When you want to count by 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s, and that's all fine because you want to ascend quickly. But when dysfunction exposes you, it pulls you down, and what starts to happen is you feel every step going down. Bloop, 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 and it re-injures you because you didn't want to put that in the count. And what you thought was that nobody didn't know, and that dysfunction was waiting, incubating, waiting for the right time to bring you down. And because you have yet to understand what triggers that dysfunction, you ain't know it was coming. But when you put that thing in account, the reason I have y'all verbalize it, the reason I have y'all say it continually, the reason I have y'all type this stuff is because you have to release it. Be specific about it. What is it really that I'm scared to release in my count? What injury am I scared to release in my count? Because that's the thing you got to release. You must be specific. Like literally, okay. The importance of releasing it, the importance of being being specific about it. Because remember, we're looking at dysfunction as a virus, and a virus mimics itself. It likes to hide out. So think about somebody back in the day. Remember, AIDS was a big old thing, right? And when you went to the doctor, and then they found out that you had AIDS, you couldn't just leave. They needed you to be specific about something. What they needed you to be specific about? Who was your partners? Who have you already connected with? And the thing about it is, because now I got to go tell somebody else that this virus may have infected them. And nobody want to talk about the virus of dysfunction. Nobody wanted to talk about AIDS and how to protect themselves. Nobody wanted to have that conversation. And then when you realize how the virus connected so many people, and when you really start to think about how the dysfunction in your family goes so deep, but it's not until you become specific about it and you release it that it gives you the ability to count it all joy. Even the unpleasantness, I have to count it all joy. My all in all joy. The hurt, all joy. The pain, all joy. Let's count it in ascending order. 1, joy. 2, joy. 3, joy. 4, joy. Because remember, I always say go beyond what you see is how you see a thing. I didn't like being violated. That don't feel good. But my joy, you see how I smile? My joy comes from the fact that I've been equipped to go in some of the ugliest places and embrace some of the most beautiful people and tell them I made it. And if I made it, you can make it. You don't owe you no apologies, because in actuality, that's the strong you. Ha! The story of the old me is the strength of who I am now. The fight that the old me had is the fight I have now. The courage that the old me had to not take my own life is the courage I have now to help, and I'm equipped now to help build somebody else up. I remember being in 4th grade at Hamilton Elementary, and I had started talking to my teacher, and I bawled, I was crying, and I ended up under the table, and all the kids was picking at me. That was the first person that I had ever released that my father was beating my mother. I had never told nobody else. I was shaking. I was all on the table. I was boohoo crying. And I remember her hugging me and telling me that it was okay. And she probably said some other stuff, but I just remember her holding me and saying, Tisha, it's okay. And I want to say the school reached out to my mom and stuff like that and was trying to get us the proper help and everything to get away from him. The power came in the release when I realized it was okay. I had to be specific. Nobody knew why my attitude was so bad. Nobody knew why I was so angry. Nobody knew why I was being bullied and why I was a bully. Because remember, dysfunction wants you to have power over people and events. I'm not proud about being a bully, but I take joy in that because now I have the ability to recognize the dysfunctional behaviors in other bullies. When I learn how to count it all joy, it empowers me. It equips me. It sustains me. It establishes me on a firm foundation. It allows me to be fruitful. It allows me to produce. It allows me to be fertile. It allows me to take control of my reproductiveness because I am intentional in what I do. Dysfunction does not want you to be intentional. It just wants you to continue to put on habits and wear it. The illusion. Remember, perfection is dysfunction disguised as beauty. That's a habit. Because I don't want nobody to see my ugly. I don't want nobody to see the dysfunction. And I'm certainly not going to count it. That don't count. But when it pulls you down, you're going to remember and feel every aspect of it. When you count it all joy, you do it in ascending order. We're not skipping nothing. Because I want to have, when it's under my feet, it can't move until I move. How the song say? When I move, you move. Just like that. It can't move until I move. And I'd be doggone if I'm going to go backwards and allow it to block my view ever again. So I'm going to keep it behind me. And as each level, as I continue to ascend, it gets further and further behind me. And it don't mean I don't know it's there, but we're no longer connected because I'm not as close to it as I was when I started at 1. When it first began, I was right there on impact. I was a caterpillar. And then I went into a dark place and had to cocoon myself. Nobody cocooned me. I had to cocoon myself and equip myself. And in the dark place, I wasn't sure what was going to come out. But I counted all that ugly as joy. All that dysfunction as joy. And I had to keep cocooning myself. Because I knew at some point I'm going to come out of this. And I'm going to be able to ascend to levels that when I look down is simply a memory that does not affect me in a traumatic way. Because I counted my dark times. I counted my crawling. I counted my birth. I counted it all joy. When I tell y'all my beginning was ugly. My mother was 13 when she got pregnant with me. My daddy was 18. They grew up. My dad went to church at my grandfather's church, and my mama had went to church with my grandma. Both my grandfathers were pastors. But my mama got shunned. My ugly beginning. She had to sit in the back of the church and nobody couldn't talk to her. I can't skip that. I got to count it all joy. She couldn't house no positions. I got to count that all joy. My dad was verbally, mentally, and physically abusive to her, but I still have to count that all joy. Her doing the best she could at 14 and at 15 and at 16 and at 17 and at 18. Because when you realize that I'm still connected, because see, some of y'all keep trying to disconnect from the people that you feel hurt you and then do what they should have did to protect you. And I keep trying to tell you, they did the best that they knew how to do. So if they still here and you still here, then you should be grateful and count it all joy. Some of you want to be mad at your mamas and your daddies because you feel like they went in your life. But maybe their dysfunctional issues were so jacked up, you'd have been worse off then than technically you are right now. There were times I often wondered why my daddy left us, right? I mean, I knew he was abusive, but bro, you could stay, right? But had that not been a part of my ascending, then I wouldn't have the ability to teach people that he was not equipped to be in that part of my life. Because his dysfunction was massive. When you accept that some things in your life are going to be seasonal, even the things you feel should be permanent, they're just seasonal. Count that as joy. So I stopped looking at it like my daddy abandoned us, and I appreciated him. Because him staying would have meant that my mom would have been in an abusive relationship even longer. Really, my mama left him. But I had to count that joy. My dad not really knowing how to be a dad. And when I stopped looking at him through the eye of judgment, when you count stuff as joy, you remove judgment. You stop viewing other people's errors and shortcomings when you're able to count your own shortcomings as joy. It teaches you to remove the eye of judgment. Why are you so angry at that person? Because you haven't counted your overcoming as joy. And most of you get angry with certain people because they reflect you. Count it joy. Put it in the number. Count that. So we can ascend together. So we can evolve together. And the only way that's going to happen is these 4 pillars. Acknowledge, accept, embrace, and evolve. I can't count it all That means I got to gather it all that means I have to acknowledge it. I told y'all this thing full circle. I have to accept it. I have to embrace it. And I have to evolve from it. And in order for me to do that properly, everything got to come together. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. But I'm not skipping steps. No ma'am, no sir. We holding on all of these steps. And we going to do what? We're going to count it all joy. Now the question is, what is joy? Because I done told y'all what counting it is, what all is. I done told you what counting is. I done told you what all in all is. So let's find out what joy is. Now one of these I like more than the other, but I'm going to give them to you. The emotion of great delight or happiness caused by something especially good or satisfying. A keen pleasure. Elation. I'm so excited. A source or cause of keen pleasure or delight. Something or someone greatly valued or appreciated. A state of happiness. To feel joy, be glad, rejoice. Now, the one thing I want to sit on, I just want to keep, where is that? Someone greatly valued. I said all of that just to get to someone greatly valued. When you take joy in you, when you learn how to value you, when you learn how to forgive you, when you learn how to love on you, when you learn how to embrace you, when you learn how to speak to you, then everything else attached to you, I can count that joy because you've learned how to take pleasure in you. See, we always trying to hide. And when you hide and you can't take pleasure in you, you can't value your you. You don't see your worth. Some of you struggle with seeing your worth. The reason I can count it all joy is because I take value in me. I'm keen on that thing. I've acknowledged that thing. I've ascended. I've counted it. And I'm able to embrace it. So my value is that I didn't go through that stuff for naught. I didn't endure all that stuff for naught. I went through all that so I can empower you. So I'm going to celebrate me. I'm going to take pleasure in me. I'm going to be joyful in this. Because why? Because I understand that I am a reflection of victoriousness. Nothing about me reflects victim. Why? Because I counted it. Take joy in yourself. What I told y'all, be selfish. Somebody compliment you today, stop dismissing the compliments. Child, I just put this together. Let me tell y'all something. You can't tell me nothing this morning about my hair, right? I put them flexi rods in it and I curled it. Now, mind you, it's a little bit lopsided or whatever, right? But you can't tell me I'm not fly because I'm going to count this all joy, right? Because I'm accepting the good, the bad, and the ugly because I value myself. I'm taking pleasure in the fact that I overcame. I'm taking pleasure in the fact that I ascended from the thing that was meant to hold me captive. The thing that was meant to keep me in prison, I ascended from that. The thing that was meant to just hold me here, I ascended from that. The thing that was meant to destroy me, I ascended from that. And we're going to learn to stop trying to skip these steps. Some of them you're not going to stay on as long as you stay on others. Some of them you're going to be able to move quickly. And then there are others where the next step is going to seem hard to get to. That next true step, but because you got the rest of it behind you, just keep looking forward. Stop trying to worry about what's behind you. Keep ascending. I'm going to acknowledge it in that moment. I'm going to accept the gift of the truth in that moment. I'm going to embrace my truth in that moment. And then I'm going to evolve, ascend. I'm going to move forward. And that thing is going to be in my count. Because I'm not going to dismiss my hurt. I will not dismiss my pain. I will not even dismiss the dysfunction that I lived in. I will not dismiss it. I'm going to count it. Because I have to do it in my all and all. I'm going to count it all joy. when because I feel such a woo-saw. Like I think everybody kind of had a woo-saw moment right there. Like I felt like a whoo. It is okay. Because we going to count this all joy. I'm happy that I have the ability to ascend. And I'm not going to skip these numbers now. It don't always feel good. It don't always look good. It don't always smell good. It don't always taste good. But I've accepted the fact that it was good for me. Because I'm going to count it all joy. I'm going to take delight in me because I understand that I have great value. I got all that to say this. Joy comes in valuing yourself. That's your joy. Count it all joy. Ascended. Count it up. All. The good, the bad, the unpleasant. But joy comes when you value you. Joy comes when you understand your worth. Joy comes when you no longer allow dysfunction to keep you in prison. Joy comes when you're able to walk in freedom. Because that comes in you knowing your worth. See, I didn't focus on the stuff of me trying to get joy in other people because that's temporary. But when I found joy in me, when I liked being with me, when I embraced my story of me, when I embraced my ugly, and that was everything that made me unique, one of a kind, genuine, authentic, love and embodiment. You, the very thing I'm able to speak to when I embraced all that and learned how to count it all joy, I knew then my value. And in that, I found joy. I knew then my worth. And in that, I found joy. I knew then my peace. And in that, I found joy. I knew then my freedom. And in that, I found joy. When I started counting it all, it empowered me to see my worth, to see my value. And when I started looking at my value, you know how you go and I watch like the pawn shop shows and stuff like that. And they be looking at that stuff and they be like old stuff. And they like, oh, this is, and they don't think it's worth much. And then they be like, this worth $17 billion. And the person smile. That's how you got to see yourself. When you look in the mirror and you look at all that ugly stuff that you've been through, that you've been trying to dismiss, all that ugly stuff, all them illnesses, all that injury, all that pain. When you start looking at that stuff and you start calculating, remember how Medea was calculating all that stuff in that play? Calculate that thing. And then you start to realize your worth. You start to realize your value. And then you can be, you know what? Okay. You learn how to count it all joy. Because you trying to take some stuff out and subtract it and things, that's going to cause you to, you kind of decrease in value. No. I'm taking all of it. I ain't say it looked good, but I'm taking all of it because it increases my value because I'm no longer at one because I'm ascending. And at some point you do multiply. And it helps you increase even faster. But you got to learn how to start with 1 + 1 is 2. And what do you mean, Tisha, it multiplies? Because then I take where I'm at. And then I show somebody else how to do it. So now I've multiplied that. Right? Because now I just empower somebody else. And then that person takes that. And then they tell somebody else. And they empower somebody else. So now that's another multiplier. So now it's 3 of us multiplied by however many other people we don't told. And then it starts to ascend and accelerate quickly. But in order for all this to take place, You got to know your value. You got to know your worth. You got to be able to ascend. When I tell y'all this right, we've been playing, but baby, we about to know our worth. And some of us feel like we've been in a dark place, that we've been shut in, that don't nobody see us. But when I tell you, when people go look for diamonds, they look in dark places. When people go get clams, pearls out of the clams, is in a dark place. That's what's wrong with some of y'all. Y'all ain't ripped. See, the pressure got to be right for it to pop open at a certain time. Your value has been hidden in a dark place because you waiting on somebody else to come and get it. No, ma'am. You go get it. You ain't go through all that stuff for somebody else to come in and determine your value. No, ma'am. When you get yourself out the dark place, wipe yourself off. Seek the diamonds. When people used to get gold, they would go up in mountains and in rivers and stuff, and they dig it. And because everything you need is in that dark place. Because some of you have to be in mines because your worth. Some of you gonna be found in water because of your worth. Some of you gonna be found in a pressure place because of your worth. Count it all joy. And every diamond don't always come from the same environment. Every diamond don't always come from the same element. Some pearls are in a little bit longer. That's why they have them rare pearls that come out like pink, I think. Then they have black diamonds. They don't necessarily go through the same process as a regular diamond. Then they have gold that they find in the water and in the rivers and some in the rocks. All of us ain't in the same place, but we all house value. Get to know your value, and in that you will embrace your joy. Your joy is in you understanding your value. Everybody can't find it because it ain't meant for them. Gems are in some of the weirdest places. Gems are always connected to some rocks and some stuff and all this other kind of stuff. It's in weird places, but it's always connected to the element. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Find your value. Embrace your, you don't even need to find your value. Embrace your value. And in that, you'll find your joy. Because I ain't go through all that to not understand my worth. You did not go through all that to not understand your value. You did not go through all that to just be sitting in a dark place waiting on somebody else to discover your truth. You discover your truth. You discover your worth. You embrace your worth. You embrace your truth. It's all on you. What I keep telling y'all, that's all empowerment is. Well, I'm going to give y'all this definition until everybody know it. Empower. To become stronger and more confident, gaining control over your life and claiming your rights. So we going to count it all joy. That's right. The process is different for every purpose. That's right, Veronica. My process may not be like your process, even though our stories may sound the same. But I know my worth. So what happens is, if my process started in a dark place, I'm going to have to come to you in the dark place. That's and speak to you. Didn't it say speak to the mountain and it's going to move? That's why I always tell people, everybody can't come where I'm at. That's not necessarily a physical thing. That could be a mental thing. Mentally, you can't because you're still there. So I am equipped to come to your dark place and speak because I'm specific. I'm able to speak to the weight because it's measurable. I'm able to speak to you obtaining it because I've obtained my freedom. I'm able to speak to the fact that it's realistic because I am really living in it now. I'm able to speak to the fact that it's timely because you see it. You see it Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to about 7. You see it's measurable. Let's be smart about it. Let's be specific about it. Oh, it's measurable. It's obtainable. It's real. And it's timely. Honey, this joy that I have. The old people used to say what? The world didn't give it to me and the world can't take it away. See, I think that's when you find your value in you. The world don't put no price tag on me. They try. They did. They do. Life tries to value. Let me tell you how life try to put value on you, how they try to determine your worth when they put you in all these statistics. Remember what I told y'all? Statistics said I'm supposed to have a kid at an early age because my mama had me at an early age. And statistics said that I'm supposed to be in an abusive relationship because my mama, my auntie, and my grandma and them was all in abusive relationships. Statistics said that I'm supposed to be depressed because of all this other trauma. That's what statistics said. So then they determined my value based off their numbers. But what they did not know is that I don't operate under their calculations. What they did not know is that I'm chosen. What they did not know is that they didn't have the ability to come and get me out of my dark place. They didn't understand that I had been preserved in my purpose. Oh, y'all not ready. I felt that's what they did not know. So their numbers ain't gonna never add up to my numbers, because in their numbers, they devalued me. Oh, she got a learning disability. Let's deduct that. Grew up in an abusive home. Let's deduct from that. Her daddy and her mama are teenage parents. Let's deduct from that. She's not pretty. Let's deduct from that. She's clearly not that smart. Let's deduct from that. But what they did not know is that I was not on their system. My value had nothing to do with their statistics. It had everything to do with my purpose, because I didn't have to find my purpose. That's for people who got to find their purpose. No, we walking in our purpose. My purpose was upon me the day I was conceived. I had the ability to fully walk in it the day I was birthed. Janet says she loved math. They tried to make deductions on my life based off my situations, because they only know how to what you call it? They only know how to value based off situations. I'm not a situation. I live my life as a journey. That's me traveling from one place to the next. So right when you think you got my calculation, I've already moved. Don't worry about it. My numbers are not your numbers. So again, this was good this morning, y'all. I really enjoyed this. So today, that's going to be our saying for the rest of the day. Count it all joy. Somebody keep acting a nut, count it all joy. Somebody getting on your nerves, count it all joy, because you're going to take value in you. When you take value in you, you realize I don't have to come down. You're going to have to come up. You're going to have to ascend from that place, because I'm not coming down. Because if you come down, then you decreasing. No, ma'am. No, sir. We ascending. We increasing. Come on up. I know they get on your nerves. Make them come on up. I know you want to cuss them out. Make them come on up. I know you might want to fight them. Make them come on up. I know you might want to address it in a particular way. Make them come on up. Just make them. Because one or two things. Either they're going to come up to where you at, or they're going to go away. Remember, speak to the mountain. It's going to move. It's all in what you want. So we going to count it all joy today, y'all. Oh goodness, it's 7:04. I got to go. I didn't even know it was that late. But I love y'all. We counting it all joy. You are welcome, Miss Janet. I did not know this thing's happening for an hour and 5 minutes. I got to go. But I love y'all. I have so much fun with you guys all the time. And I appreciate y'all for giving me the most valuable thing you possess, and that's y'all time. So until tomorrow, same time, same place, we gonna do what? Count it all joy. Love you guys.